with the starter, 4 Mighty Bolt Dragoons, the Vanquisher version, Vibro Crusher Dragon, running 4 Chachura. I am running 3 Voltic Shred Dragons, Rock Climb Dragoon, final grade 2, Cho-Oh. So, finally, grade 3s. Obviously, Dragonic Vanquisher. In the deck, we are running 3 full Brontos. Jaggy Shot, 6 crit, 6 draw, 4 heal. What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Senpai, and today I am going to be giving you guys a Vanquisher deck profile. You may have heard me talk about it on previous podcasts, like when I was on CardFightCon with Force of the Ocean, or just on Commander Jaime's channel. But I am an avid fan of Narukami. You can go look back and see my my Eradicators deck profile from many years ago. But anyway, let's get into it. We're going to start off with the starter. Just general V starter, so hey, And let's go from our grade 1s up. My grade 1s I feel are a little bit different than everybody else's. Typically from the top list that I've been seeing, you run 4 Mighty Bolt Dragoons, which is your standard V-Era grade 3 searcher. You plop him down from hand. He searches top 5 for a grade 3. If you get one, discard a card from your hand. It could be a quick shield, could be whatever. It could be a Rising Phoenix, depending on your variant. And then his conditional 5k boost, which is if you bound a card this turn, whether or not he was placed, as long as he's seen a card, as long as the card had been bound that turn, he doesn't even have to be on the board at the time, he gets plus 5k. And that's pretty much it. It's a great card. You can't run this deck without it. Next, the Vanquisher version, Chain Bolt Dragoon. He is the new style of double rares on place. Look at top 7, grab a card with X, which in his case is grab a card with Vanquisher, add it to your hand. You don't have to discard anything like that. But he also has another skill. When this card is bound from your hand, which you do a lot in this deck, you get the Superior column. And in my opinion, that's really good. Now his search top 7 effect, if it was on rear guard as well, that'd be busted, but unfortunately you just get to have a nice 8k body. And why you're running this over the card that we had before that did a similar thing, because this deck, even without soul charging that much, you draw a lot and you will deck yourself out. I have tested it. It is not fun. And next, I have 2 more grade 1s that I'm running, and they're pretty good. Whenever I've come into contact with them, because I usually don't get a chance to see them. They're usually just discard fodder for the for the time, or they're just damage checked. But I'm running 2 Vibro Crusher Dragon. What Vibro Crusher Dragon does is, on rear guard, when it's placed, if your Vanguard is grade 2 or greater, you can counterblast 1, draw a card, choose one of your opponent's back row units, and move it to an open rear guard space. So in case you're playing against Blows, and for some reason they put that 1 grade 3 Blow that they need in the back row, you can move that shit right up and blow it up. The same thing applies for any other rear guards that have your opponent's just hiding in the back row. It's pretty nice for getting rid of problem children. Otherwise, a lot of lists I see are just running the grade 3 searchers, and that's perfectly okay too. But I like a little bit more security with getting to my grade 1s. All right, next, running 4 Chachura. I want to draw. I want to draw a lot. I want to draw fast, and I have the soul to keep fueling this. But on top of that, I really love 28k beaters, or 33k beaters if it's on Excel Circle. Because when you bind this card from hand, you get the Superior call it. And when you do that, it gets plus 10k. So, it's a really good card. Next, I am running 3 Voltic Shred Dragons. When he attacks, you Soul Blast 1, draw a card, bind a card, and that's pretty much it. It helps your engine. I legitimately may bump this up to 4, but a lot of lists that I've seen are either running 2, maybe 4. Sometimes they don't even run them at all. It's still a great card, and until, like, if you're fresh new to Narukami, you're going to want this, because you're going to want at least 2 cards that can bind a turn, and this is one of them. Next, Rock Climb Dragoon. I'm running 3 as well. Rock Climb Dragoon, what he does is, after the battle that it attacked, it's a 9k, on Excel Circles 14, but after the battle that it attacked, you retire him. So you're phantoming against your mirror matches, and then you draw a card, and then you bind a card. So 2 binders so far. And then that's pretty much it. Like, that's all he does, but he's great. He basically replaces himself and then gets you a bind, which potentially can get you more, which could get you a Shatura, could get you a Chain Bolt Dragoon. Those are really good. And it could also get you some of the other things we're going to see a little bit later. But for my final grade 2, Cho-Oh. Cho-Oh's still great. He can take out a whole column essentially by himself, and he can restand. It'll cost you 2 Counterblast, but you barely use Counterblast in this deck. I think this is probably one of the few cards in this deck that I use Counterblast for. So paying his cost is definitely not a big deal. Like, yeah, he's one of 2 cards in this deck that I pay Counterblast for. So, yeah. Cho-Oh, really great, but a lot of people have not been running him. And that's okay, because they've just been upping. Like, they'll take this out, but they'll add in another one of each of these, and this will be their grade 2 lineup. Which, in my opinion, there's no spice, there's no flavor, there's no real pressure, which is why I put in Cho-Oh. Cho-Oh, at the late, like, starting turn 3, you can start going off, and if you get a Cho-Oh, a Rock Climb Dragoon, and this in your hand, if you have that, your opening turn 2 turn, which most likely you won't, you'll probably have one of these 3, and then your turn 4 turn, you'll draw into the other pieces, because your grade 3 turn, you're going to draw a lot. It'll be completely fine. But yeah, when that turn comes, your opponent's not going to enjoy taking, like, having to guard like 10 attacks or having to take some attacks. So, finally, grade 3s. Obviously, Dragonic Vanquisher. He's great. There's not too much else that can be said about him. He's the main thing that you want to ride. Once you ride 1, you don't need to ride anymore. You're running 4 for consistency's sake. But once you do ride him, you get you an Excel 2, because if you get Excel 1, you're either in a tight pinch or you're just, I don't know. But anyway, his skill. During your turn, if you bound 3 cards, gets plus 10k. Now, great, and that's static. So, like, even if you don't have a card out, you call a card later, that card gets 10k too. So, anyway, his other skill, which is the one that really matters, Counterblast 1. So he's the second and only other card in this deck that Counterblasts. You bind a card from the front row, either yours or your opponent's, most likely your opponent's. Then if you have a grade 3 in Soul, you go ahead and you bind a card from your hand, bind a card from your opponent's hand. Most likely, if you're lucky, you're binding Shatura or you're binding Chain Bolt, which are easily things that you're gonna have. Because most people, they like to hang on to their Chaturas for reasons unknown. Even if you don't get Chaturas plus 10 bonus, who cares? He's giving 10k at that point. But yeah, this card is really great. It's very simple, but it's effective. Let's see. Let's go on to the next card in the deck. We are running 3 Full Brontos. Full Bronto is great. You just don't want to... I'm running 3 because I don't want to ride him first. I've done that before, and every single time it hurts. Yeah, he's great when he comes out because he can give himself plus 10k. If you happen to have rear guards, they get 10k at time of placement. But yeah, that's kind of underwhelming in the grand scheme of things. And you know, his name does count as Dragonic Vanquisher, so you can use a skill if you just happen to have two of him, like one that you rode and one in hand, and you have a bind card and you want to get another drive check, you can use it. And then whatever rear guards you have, those will get the plus 10k, and that's pretty nice. But let's get on to his skills. First, his name counts as Dragonic Vanquisher, which is great. Makes your other cards like Rock Climb Dragoon not worthless. It makes Volt Shred Dragon not worthless. And it helps make this consistent. So yeah, those are really great reasons why his name is Vanquisher, and it's future-proofing him from the future. In case Vanquisher does get more support in the Overdress set, I highly doubt it. But his other skill, his auto skill, when this card is placed, all of your front row units gets plus 10,000. Again, that's great if you. It's great if you do it how you're supposed to, which is mid battle, and you have rear guards that have either replaced themselves or that are still standing. They all get plus 10k. No, this 10k from OG Vanquisher and this one do not stack. OG Vanquisher has to be face up on the Vanguard circle in order to get the 10k. This one replaces that one and still it's just there. It's just not as good in my opinion. And his final skill, which is from hand, when this card is bound, you can discard a card, superior ride him. At that point, that's where you get the Excel 2 marker. You draw a card, and then that's when you get the plus 10k from him being placed on board. But at the end of the turn, it's just like Luard or Lambros. You shove him in. Basically, you ride a grade 3 from your soul, which will be Vanquisher, and you do not get an Excel 2 marker or an Excel marker that turn, because if you chose Excel 1 for some crazy reason, you don't get to get another one. But you ride it as rest, and then that's it. So full Bronto is really great. You just have to work on your timing with them, and you have to be careful of your board state at that time. Because I have had turns where I could have extended way more and exerted more pressure, but I messed up and misused this card or messed up my attack patterns with my Vanguard. And finally, for the grade 3s, Jaggy Shot. Jaggy Shot is the best grade 3 ever as a support. So basically, on Vanguard or Rearguard, when he attacks, you bind a card from your hand. Then you bind a card in your opponent's front row. But if they have nothing, guess what? You get to draw a card. So you get the plus off of your opponent trying to counterplay you. And then at the end of the turn, if your Vanguard is Dragonic Vanquisher, which you have a really high chance, you technically have 7 Vanquishers in my version of the deck, you'll have a high chance of being able to hit that Vanquisher on your Vanguard, and you get to put them in the soul, and you get to draw another card. So, on average, let's just say we have the 1, this is your Vanguard, and like, you're going to be able to draw cards a lot, because you have him, and you have this. These are all good cards that are going to get you to draw cards mid-battle, and that's great because it sets you up, because you might start out your turn with like 2 or 3 cards in hand, but I have had turns where I ended out with like 8, 9 cards. But yeah, that's just the main deck, and on to the triggers. Right now, this is just what I'm trying, just because it has proven to be the most consistent for me. I will try higher versions or different trigger ratios, but 6 crit, 6 draw, 4 heal. I like this. It's pretty good. There's not really much to say about it. I don't like fronts just because most of your units, like Jaggy Shot or Rock Climb Dragoon, they're going to be phantoming out. And when I say the term phantom, I mean like they're there, now they're not. Little Houdini, if you will. I don't like that, because then you're going to either miss or you're not going to have enough units on board, because if your opponent's a smart counter player, they're going to attack your rear guards, the ones that you do still have on the board, like Chatura or Voltic Shred, or even some of your grade ones like Mighty Bolt or Chain Bolt. So that's pretty much it for now. And maybe later I will do some combos or some turn setups that you want to be aware of. And thanks for watching, guys.